Chairman Nels, Ranking Member Cohen, Ranking Member Larson, and members of the subcommittee, thank you very much for holding this hearing on airport infrastructure. I am Andre Sutton, Air Division Director and International Vice President of the Transport Workers Union. We represent more than 160,000 transportation workers across the country. We are the largest union in the airline industry for the U.S., representing ramp workers, mechanics, dispatchers, flight attendants, pilot simulator instructors, and others who safely deliver passengers and cargo every day. The TWU applauds this committee's efforts to pass the full FAA reauthorization last Congress. Our union strongly endorsed the bill, which included historic provisions the TWU spent decades advocating for. However, nearly a year after its enactment, none of the provisions most important to the TWU have been fully implemented. We strongly urge this subcommittee to ensure the last year's law is fully implemented to the letter of the law. This will raise the level of safety and return high-quality jobs of our nation's airspace. As a ramp worker myself, I recognize the safety concerns of working on the ramp. 5 workers have died on the ramp since this subcommittee held hearings on ground worker safety in January of 2020. In April 2023, TWU member Michael Ingram, an American Airlines ramp worker at Austin Begram, was crushed by a malfunctioning push-out tractor and pinned to a jet bridge. This year so far, a ramp worker has died in Charlotte Douglas and another seriously injured at Chicago O'Hare. These tragedies were the result of a failure of oversight at all levels, including at the FAA. The FAA has not studied ramp worker safety since 2002. Last year's reauthorization mandates the FAA to issue a call to action to review ramp worker safety practices, address longstanding deficiencies in FAA policy, update training programs, and increase the visibility of safety markers. However, the FAA has blown past the November 2024 deadline for initiating this review. As a result, any action will be delayed. Turning to the issue of assaults, last month a gate agent at Washington Dulles was knocked out by a disgruntled passenger. Unruly and violent behavior is traumatizing workers across the industry. This directly impacts recruitment and retention. While the number of formally reported cases of unruly passengers had dropped since its peak in 2021, the numbers still continue to exceed pre-COVID levels. We applaud Congress for taking this matter seriously. The new FAA reauthorization clarified statutory protections to prevent assaults on airport and airline employees. Congress also mandated a task force to develop voluntary standards for combating assaults on the ground and on the plane. Importantly, workers are required to have a voice at the table. Congress reiterated its FAA reauthorization of 2018 requirement for air carriers to develop and institute employee assault prevention and response plans. While a federal no-fly list is the strongest action Congress could take, we have no doubt that the provisions included in the new law will reduce the number of assaults. However, workers will not see any benefits of these changes until these provisions are fully implemented. Lastly, since the late 1980s, the FAA has encouraged airlines to perform maintenance outside of the U.S. by selectively enforcing safety regulations. Today, there are nearly 1,000 FAA certified repair stations abroad that have been allowed to operate without complying to the minimum standards that the FAA imposes on domestic facilities, including mechanic qualifications, background checks, drug and alcohol testing, and random inspections. China has benefited the most from this lack of enforcement. Last year's law directs the FAA to close all these loopholes immediately. My written testimony includes additional details of importance of properly implementing the FAA bill. The health and safety of TWU members and airline workers across the country depend on Congress ensuring that the FAA takes this mandate seriously. Thank you for holding this hearing. and I look forward to answering any questions.